All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about commercial contracts today. But first, I want you to just completely forget that image you have in your head of these dusty, super complicated legal documents. Instead, I want you to think of them as these really powerful, essential tools that honestly, every single business owner needs to get a handle on. This whole explainer is about turning that legal mumbo jumbo into your secret weapon. So, what happens when a handshake deal goes south? I mean, we've all been there, or at least we've worried about it, right? You make a deal with someone, it's all based on trust, a simple handshake. Everything seems totally fine until, well, it isn't. All of a sudden, deadlines are getting missed, payments are late, and what you thought you agreed on is not what they thought they agreed on. And just like that, that friendly agreement is a huge source of stress and, honestly, a potential disaster for your business. And that right there is exactly where a proper contract comes into play. This isn't about mistrust, not at all. It's about clarity. A contract is that safety net. It's the thing that's there to catch you when things go wrong, because it makes sure that everyone knows the rules of the game before you even start playing. It is your first and your best line of defense. So really, the best way to think about a contract is just as a rule book for your business relationship. Or you could think of it as a blueprint. It lays out what each person is supposed to do, what they get in return, and crucially, what happens if somebody doesn't follow the plan. It's really that straightforward. Okay, so what is a commercial contract, technically speaking? At its core, it's just a legally enforceable promise. That's it. Its entire job is to oversee a business deal and make absolutely sure that everyone actually does what they said they were going to do. It's what makes business predictable and, secure.
Now, this is so important. A good contract really has two main goals. The first one is obvious. It has to protect everyone's business interests. Of course. But the second one, and this is the part people often forget, is that it should preserve the relationship. A really well-written contract doesn't create fights, it prevents them. It builds a stable foundation so you can have a successful partnership.
So, if a contract is a rule book, what are the chapters? Now that we get why we need one, let's get into the good stuff. What actually goes inside it? We're going to break down the 7 essential clauses. Think of this as like the core DNA that you're going to find in pretty much every commercial agreement you ever see.
Okay, let's run through this checklist. First up, confidentiality. This one's pretty simple. It's about who can share what information, protecting your trade secrets. Easy enough. Next, termination. This is your exit strategy, kind of like a business prenup. It spells out exactly how the relationship can end cleanly. Then we have dispute resolution. This is your game plan for disagreements. Are you going to go to court or maybe use a mediator to save time and money? Then there's force majeure. This covers the totally unexpected stuff. Think acts of God like a hurricane or, a pandemic, things that physically stop you from working. Jurisdiction. This just sets the legal home turf. So which state's laws are going to apply if things get really serious? Now, indemnity. This answers a huge question. If something goes wrong and causes a big mess, who pays for it? This clause assigns that financial responsibility. And finally, liquidated damages. This one sets a specific pre-agreed penalty, a dollar amount, if someone breaks a rule. That way, there are no arguments later about how much damage was done. These 7 points, they're the essential chapters in your business rulebook.
Now here's where it gets really cool. You can take these same core building blocks, the same DNA, and arrange them to build completely different kinds of agreements. The basics are always there, they're just adapted for different business needs. So let's compare 2 super common scenarios, a partnership agreement versus a dealership or selling agreement.
And this just lays it out perfectly. See, over on the left, with a partnership, the contract is all about the internal stuff. Who's putting in what money? How are we splitting the profits? What do we owe each other as partners? But then, on the right, in that dealership agreement, the rules are all about the external transaction, how the goods are supplied, how you can use the brand name, and the terms for payment. See? Same building blocks, but they're being used to create 2 totally different blueprints for 2 totally different business goals.
So what does this all mean for you? Look, understanding this stuff isn't just about trying to avoid some legal headache. It's way more than that. This is a strategic advantage. This is your contracting superpower. And here it is. This is probably the single most important thing to take away from all of this. Once you understand this basic 7-point structure, you can understand the core of any contract that comes across your desk. Seriously, the details are always going to change, the names, the dates, the dollar amounts, but that fundamental architecture,
it stays the same. You now have the mental model to decode any of them.
I want to leave you with this idea because it just perfectly sums up the whole spirit of a good contract. It says a properly drafted contract should not unduly disturb or endanger the commercial arrangement. In other words, its job is to support a business deal, not to suffocate it in red tape. A good contract should always make it easier to do business together, never harder.
So as we wrap this up, I'm going to leave you with a question. Now that you've got this new framework, the next time you look at a contract, what's the very first clause you're going to flip to? What are you going to look for first and why? Is it the exit strategy, the plan for disagreements, or who pays if things go wrong? Your answer probably says a lot about what matters most to you and your business.